You're listening to Secret Sonics, a podcast exploring the creative side of music production. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Secret Sonics, live from my living room. I am here today with Mendy Portnoy, who has already been a guest on the show. Did I introduce myself? I am your host, Ben Wallach. And I'm here today with Mendy Portnoy. So Mendy was the first guest on Secret Sonics, and his episode was 5 months ago, which is absolutely mind-blowing that this has been going on for about 5 months.
That is bonkers.
That is bonkers. And wanted to bring Mendy back on, and so I'll just tell everybody what's been happening with me is that basically they started construction above my studio, and I have been unable to really work. And last week and also this week, been having casual conversations in my living room instead of in my studio. And I'm moving my studio, hopefully on Sunday, into my house from where it is currently located, and apartment. Yeah, so we're excited about that. But for now, we're having casual conversations recorded into the Zoom, which is why the audio quality is not as top-notch, although that's probably less interesting to most people. Anyways, I'm
Don't
rambling.
say that. You can edit it afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not editing this. This is going to go straight on the podcast. I am making the podcast less filtered. Let's try to do that.
All
so,
right.
welcome back, Mendy.
Thanks for having me, Ben. I was going to say it's good to be back, but I don't know if I can say that because I'm not back in the same place.
And you've actually, I don't think you've ever been in this room.
And I've never even been...
Which is crazy, actually.
So, but it's
Welcome.
good to be back on the podcast. And I remembered last time, I think I was sitting on a couch, and I remember thinking afterwards, it kind of sounds like I'm asleep because I was kind of like back in the couch like this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit up and speak properly.
Should we get on the table? Should we get some chairs? Or do you?
No, the couch is good. I just have to have proper posture.
This is just a casual conversation.
The other thing is that the last time I was on the podcast, I was the first person ever on your podcast. Since then, you've had lots of people who actually know what they're talking about. So now I really have to sort of up my game and
I'm not sure about that.
try not to say anything too silly.
I mean, I think everybody knows what they're talking about and doesn't know what they're talking about in some respects or others. Sometimes, some people are more well-known than others, and everybody has different life experiences. I don't know, we were just talking about before you came up, like, how you have to trust yourself, trust your gut, and, like, when, like, we're going to get into Black Friday, but you mentioned how you recently got a plugin that you finally said, this reverb actually sounds great, and kind of validates that you trust your ears and stuff like that.
Definitely.
But so trust yourself, Mendy. You got it going on.
Unless your gut is telling you to get a proper job, that's the only time you should ignore it.
Yeah, that's another discussion. So how you been, man?
I've been good. I've been busy. I've just released an album with my brother.
Yeah, since your first episode. Yeah, that was a month ago you released it.
Yeah, the album's called No Complaints, and we actually recorded that in Nashville. We kind of actually co-produced that. It was me, Surely, and Ohad Darshan, who's an Israeli producer, and basically we essentially recorded the album over 2 days, or I would say the meat and potatoes of the album we recorded in Nashville over 2 days, brought everything back here, and then kind of worked on we added strings and backing vocals and, lots of editing and nitty-gritty stuff. But that was a cool experience, and that is finally out, so I've been busy with that.
Amazing. It's first of all, it sounds amazing. So congrats on that.
Thank you, man.
Would you actually mind, it's interesting, I didn't even think to ask you about this, which is ridiculous, but would you mind telling us what happened in those couple of days? What were the meat and potatoes sessions? What happened there? What did you record?
So,
what was that like?
It's actually funny, the main reason we even did it in Nashville is because we were in New York for a couple of gigs, and I guess the kind of sound that this group of songs that we were going to record lent itself to was definitely in that kind of, I wouldn't say country, but there's like, folk, Americana. There's a whole kind of a variety of different sounds that all lead in a certain direction, and we were just like, well, hold on, we're 2 hours away from Nashville, why don't we just head over there and why don't we do it there? And we actually didn't have any idea of where we were going to do it, or which musicians or producers, and we checked out a few different things. The first thing we noticed is that it's absolutely packed with amazing studios and musicians and producers. In the end, through somebody that I reached out to who wasn't available, we ended up getting in touch with a guy called Wes Little, who plays drums with Robin Ford, and he has a gorgeous home studio, which is pretty much on the level of some of the, the most high-end studios we have here in Israel.
Wow. I can only imagine.
A lot of the studios are there, and a lot of these guys,
sure.
like they build all their own, they build their studios with their own hands. Yeah, they're always uploading videos of them like installing new racks and hardware and all,
It's like guys that know how to actually build their own
yeah,
stuff.
and like, or restoring like old Hammonds and stuff, like the real deal. And so he called in Brian Allen, who's the bass player who plays with him, with Robin Ford, who also had just played on the Lady Gaga movie. He played on the soundtrack for that.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Tim Galloway was on guitar, and it's just amazing. Like these, so it was obviously it's Wes's studio, but the other guys showed up, each with like, well, I think Brian brought 4 basses, and Tim brought like 10 guitars, with acoustics and electrics and everything.
That's absurd.
They show up ready for war. Now, this 6-hour session that we had, I think it was their second session of the day.
How prepared were you for the for this? Like, what did you bring? Charts? Like,
Yeah.
You had your tempos. Like, what was that like?
We had our tempos, and we had recently done a show in Jerusalem where we'd done most of these songs, and we, I think for the most part, had performed all of the songs to a click track, and then also had the stems. So afterwards, we basically just made nice kind of rough mixes. And the way it worked is we all stood in the control room together, listened through to the song once. We had charts, and they made some slight edits to the charts, and we maybe made 1 or 2 arrangement choices. And then for the most part, what happened was I stayed in the control room with, I had a piano and a microphone. Srully was in one booth with acoustic guitar and a microphone. The idea is that mine and Srully's parts were just going to be scratch versions, so that to give them a feel whilst they were playing, but then we would redo all that stuff. And they were all together in the main room.
Motown style.
What's that?
Motown style.
Yeah. And pretty much that was how before each song we got together, listened to it, discussed it a little bit if there was anything we wanted to do, maybe like a different ending or whatnot. Went in, played the song 2 or 3 times, and moved on. And then
the engineers there comped everything and
so essentially what happened was we recorded the rhythm section like that, and then Tim would overdub. There would normally be a few layers of electric guitars, or if we wanted a few options of different things for afterwards. Wes would overlay shakers or tambourine, basic percussions, or some cymbal swells. For the most part, we basically just took the entire Pro Tool session back to Israel with us, and that was part of what we did here, was going through each song and building the
tracks back
that's
up.
what we did with the Ohad
Brilliant.
Yeah, so it was an awesome experience. I mean, just being in Nashville was awesome.
Inspiring, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a street there called Broadway, and essentially each storefront is a live music venue. The drummer sits in the window with the window open, kind of to entice you to come in. And from 11 a.m. till whatever time it is in the early morning, there's just live music, and sometimes you'll hear a completely world-class band playing to 2 or 3 people.
Wow, unbelievable! What an
amazing
experience!
Yeah.
What any takeaways from doing that?
Yeah, I think for me one of the biggest ones was that I think because recording is so accessible and cheap and anyone can do it from anywhere, we've kind of got to this almost obsessive
finickiness.
Yeah, where you'll go and do a vocal take like 10 times, and then you'll do another session 3 weeks later, and then a year later and it's just like we knew we had 2 days to do the best we could. And then you just, I don't know, there was something about the general feel about this album also, it was just kind of a bit more raw and real and
more free.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, this kind of music lends itself to that sort of style. It's
obviously, by the way, I'm going to put links in the show notes so people can have a
you.
listen to the record and they can like understand.
There's definitely like
a
definitely a sort of nostalgic vibe to it. You know, it's definitely not like a lot of the stuff that's coming out in 2019. So I think that made it easier.
It still sounds very fresh and modern and like clean and pristine. And
yeah, but anyway, I think there was just something about that, just going in and doing it and getting it done, and also just being surrounded by amazing musicians. That was like really inspiring.
A random question about the album. There's two versions of your single Spotify. One is the Nashville version and one is the not Nashville version. What's the? I mean, obviously I heard differences in it, but what exactly is the differences?
Okay, so basically, what happened with that song in general is that we were, I think it was last August, we were in LA, and we decided we were going to buy ukuleles. It was just this last minute thing. We need ukuleles. You know, if you've got all the instruments you need, then you need another one.
So it's cherry on top.
So we found these ukuleles, we bought them, came back to Israel, and when we did a gig, I don't remember where it was, I think maybe Herzliya or someone, we were there early. So we decided, we were right near the beach, and we took the ukuleles and we're like, we only know 4 songs on these things, let's write a pop song. 4 chords, sorry.
4 chords, yeah.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
That's all you need for a pop song.
Yeah, and we just started writing, and I think at the time we were going through a particularly rough just patch in terms of our, songwriting and our career in general, and
how's it gonna all work out, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like, and then we were like, at the same time, here we are with these ukuleles just on the beach, like there's this kind of strange mix of emotions whereby on the one hand, we're like, oh man, and on the other hand we were like, oh man.
Yeah, like life is so complicated, yet life is so good.
Yeah, like we're on the beach, and we get to play music every day, even if sometimes that can be rough. Which is why when you listen to the lyrics versus the music, there is this like sharp contrast. I think the chorus, the lyrics in the chorus are "We've all had a stupid long hard day."
Yeah,
right.
That's very major.
But you've just got these like big cheery ukuleles, and So we wrote this song, and at the time we were like, you know what? This was before we'd even started with the album. So we said, why don't we do something we've never done before, which is we've written a song. Let's just, instead of thinking too much about it, let's take the song, get in the studio, record it, get it done from beginning to end. And we decided to work with a local producer on it. It was one of the first times where we just said, you know what? Let's just try and get someone who isn't us to be involved and do it. I think we kind of wanted it to somewhat embrace the poppiness of it and just try and get it as polished and I guess poppy. We just figured if it was kind of in that vein anyway, let's try and take it all the way, whatever that even means. So we did that, and only a couple of months later we decided we were going to go to Nashville. So we had that song already done, but at the same time, we were like, well, hold on, we kind of want to put it on the album. If these guys are laying down all the music anyway, why don't we just kind of give them... We basically took the original track, we took out we got the acoustic guitars and the ukuleles and the vocals, and we said, guys, just give it the Nashville treatment in terms of the drums and bass.
Nice.
Then once we'd done that, we were like, okay, why don't we get our friend, we have a friend called Oren Sor, as well.
Yeah.
He's an incredible violinist, and he just comes in for like 4 bars at the end to give it, a bit of fiddle kind of vibe. So it was almost kind of our way of saying like, we don't want to leave that song behind, and
the
just
Nashville vibe.
Yeah, so we just put.
So basically, everything is different except for the vocals.
The vocals are the same. If you listen, I'm giving away all our secrets here, but yeah,
and the
really,
ukuleles.
Really, it's just that. Yeah, we kind of gave it that that train kind of beat on with the drums and this upright bass, exactly. Yeah, and but upright bass just doing the 1/5.
It was an actual upright bass on the.
That's an upright bass.
Dope.
Amazing. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for enlightening us on the album. That's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So let's bring everybody up to date. So what the date today is December 5th, I believe, 2019. So we just passed Black Friday, and we thought we'd discuss what we got or didn't get.
And we are all still being bombarded by
We're still
Ads.
getting ads.
I'm getting ads for things that I've already bought. Guys, leave me alone.
Sound toys. I've already purchased your bundle.
Yeah.